ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Sports betting isn't a gut call. It's a market with prices that move. WagerBird shows you what to bet, when to bet it, and how the line is changing live. Every pick is time-stamped. Every result is tracked. Start betting like an analyst with WagerBird.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Breakfast Bankroll with good friend and colleague, Mr. Andrew McInnis. We've been doing these shows for years. Tuesday on my channel, Friday on his channel. A great way to start the week and end the week here. We're the bookends of the sports information team and marketing here. Crazy day yesterday with the MLB trade deadline. I think a perfect heading for Andrew. Hopefully he can figure this one out. JAYS, buyers or sellers at the MLB trade deadline. You trade for someone and then you sell someone. You sell someone and then you get someone. I had no idea. And then the icing on the cake, the Hoffman move, which he was not happy at all. So be interested to see what Andrew has to say there. But first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. And of course, wagerbird.com. CEO Blaine Davis will be here at 10:05 tomorrow to talk financial looks, almost like the New York Stock Exchange, but for sports. And he's got it at wagerbird.com. Go over there today, sign up. Use the promo code WELCOME20, get 20% off your first order. Any questions you might have for Blaine before tomorrow, send an email at info@wagerbird.com and tell him JD from ECSI sent you. So without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Andrew McInnis. What's up, Andrew?
Mr. JD, what's happening?
I'm just trying to decipher. I mean, I did a show yesterday with Scotty at 5:15. The trades were still coming in. The Red Sox had already got Adley Rutschman. Next thing you know, there goes Marcelo Meyer out the door for a lefty reliever from the Giants. And then they get an outfielder that can play all three positions from Atlanta. And I'm just trying to figure out the Jays, what the hell was going on. A, what's the tone? And B, what the hell was going on?
You know, it's kind of cool because like a lot of these like social media accounts that I follow that talk about Blue Jays stuff, they eventually came around with it's one of those things where they were able to unload players that they weren't going to re-sign again, while in the process still actually improving the team in a certain way. So, you know, I think depending on which side you want to look at it, you can be positive or negative. But if you look at it, Varsho wasn't coming back. Gosman wasn't coming back. You know, Hoffman, we kind of know the story with Hoffman. So you kind of go down the list and you kind of ask yourself, okay, so were these guys going to come back anyway? And then, of course, a guy like Springer, you keep him around. You keep a guy like Scherzer around. But, you know, some of these names that maybe could have been. And then there were some jokes yesterday going around, Jeff, that Bieber just tanked in his last start before yesterday so he wouldn't get traded. They said if he played that well a couple starts ago, he would have maybe not been on the roster anymore. And yesterday he pitches a gem 2 starts ago. He couldn't get out of the first inning, it felt like. So very, very weird stuff. But, I've tried to learn more and more about the contract stuff throughout the years, especially with the NHL. And I think the biggest thing for them was unload guys that aren't going to be here for a while and pick up someone that's going to actually be around. So because you look at next year, the starting rotation was going to be what? Cease, Gosman, Ponce, and Yusavage. Does that sound right? So now you bring in Soriano. You got a couple other guys as well. It's a little bit of like, hey, we still want to mean business for this year a little bit, but let's be honest, we're thinking about the future as well. But so typical, Jeff, for them to win yesterday. So typical.
Well, the comedy is twofold. George Springer was kind of attached to the Red Sox. UConn grad, had a great run for you last year in the playoffs and World Series. Aging, a good way to save some money. It sounded like a match, and that didn't happen. And then the real funny is when you did make a deal and get Soriano, everyone's eyes opened up and they're calling the Jays saying, hey, what do you want for Soriano today?
I couldn't believe that. I could not believe that. And that's what happens when you make a trade earlier in the day, I guess. People think, oh, I didn't know you were going to be buyers. So do you think the teams were confused about the Blue Jays as well?
I was. I think a lot of teams, we did, and it did make sense. But again, I don't think anyone wanted Max. You're stuck with Max. But, there were a couple of people that would listen for George Springer. But for my guys, it had to be the perfect, kind of trade-off. You weren't going to get much for George. It was more of a money grab if you were looking to cut some payroll. But at the end of the day, you did add some arms. You did get yourself set up for next year. But the bottom line is, here's my take, and I'm far, far away, just a baseball take in general or a sports take. You don't owe the fans anything, meaning you were there last year. You won the AL championship. You got hot at the right time. You had a 3-2 lead in the World Series. You hosted game 6 and 7. You're never going to get to that point, at least this year. So to make some drastic, crazy buys would have been foolish.
Oh, I mean, Jeff, like we can get as dramatic as we want here at 10:27 a.m. Eastern right now. I mean, I might be 50 years old by the time that happens again. I might be 60. Who knows? Hopefully I'm only 35 when that happens next. But you're right. I mean, and I think the players know that too. The players aren't owed anything at this point. I mean, you had a 3-2 lead, and you know what I respect was in an interview with the manager, John Schneider. He said, "Hey, look, Jeff Hoffman can't be remembered for one pitch. He can't be remembered for one pitch last year in the World Series." And the thing is, as a fan, again, Jeff, for me, it's like Montreal Canadiens up here, and then any other team I support is a little bit, but that was so heartbreaking to see. You said it yourself, home field advantage for both games. You've got game 6 and game 7 to close it out. Whether we could have had a player just have a little bit more of a lead off on third. If a ball didn't get stuck in the outfield wall, what happens? If Dalton Varsho doesn't go 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position in 3 games, there's so many things we can go through. But again, Ross Atkins, he can't be blamed for this team playing the way they did in the first half of the season. And I actually respect it. A lot of the players, they seemed like they just understood it. They knew it was on them. I mean, let's be honest. If this Jays team is only 2 games back right now, who knows what's happening at the deadline?
CFL, we do our show on Tuesday and Friday. I think our eyes were pretty damn good again. The headliner game was the Elks in Saskatchewan, a perfect revenge spot for Saskatchewan. And listen, hats off to the books. I think they kind of got it ass backwards, if you want my honest truth. You know how I read the market. Why wasn't Saskatchewan opened up -1.5, -2? They had the Elks. They got their Saskatchewan money, and then they were looking for Elks money. And of course, how does it happen? It lands on two. Saskatchewan gets their win. Elks their second loss of the year, and their losses are predicated very simply to the life and times of Mr. Rankin. And it looked like the BC Lions defense out there, not once but twice, Saskatchewan just shut him down.
It feels like that's just the key to beating this team at this point. And although Fajardo can throw the ball, I think it's been such a key for them to be able to run the ball and establish that. And I've even heard some players calling him a leader in the locker room, someone that makes a difference on the bench, some guy that can will them into it. Got to give you credit, Jeff. You did everything but buy a plane ticket, fly to my house, shut my computer off, and slap me in the face and tell me not to take Hamilton. So you did all that you could there with that one. But yeah, we both cashed on Saskatchewan together. And all the winners cashed the same. So I am proud of the Jake Mayer on his passing yard prop over. That one felt nice, Jeff, because that was one of the ones where I didn't take the dog. I was like, oh, the dog could be there. No. If there's a shot in hell that Ottawa hangs around in that game, it's going to be because Jake Mayer goes over his passing yards and they still get blown out. So it's kind of a nice feeling to take a player's passing yards over like that. Mentioned that, I believe, on a Tuesday and Friday show with you last week. So nice to hit those. But I feel bad saying this every week, but the reason why we were seeing such great play was because there were no backups, and you look last week now with Trey Ford leaving the game. And I'll be honest, I thought that Harrison Frost looked all right, but I don't know. I kind of feel like them benching Trey Ford at halftime was them almost waving the white flag. Like Harrison Frost came in, he threw a touchdown in the second half pretty early, looked a little bit better. But I saw something floating around social media where in the last few years of football in this guy's career, and you probably know more about this guy than I do, Jeff. Apparently his best completion percentage is 53%. What are we doing here? So in my opinion, throw him in there in the fourth quarter or something, get him prepped for next week if you already know you're going to turn to him. But Trey Ford, he just couldn't find the open receivers. He was running the ball. He hit his rushing prop in the first quarter. I saw Gabe and a bunch of people were on the rushing prop, and it's bad when the quarterback has more rushing yards than they do passing yards. Is never a good thing. But I gotta go back to the first game of the week last week, BC and Winnipeg. How can that even be explained? We said to ourselves on the show on Tuesday and preseason that Winnipeg is probably overvalued. They're not the Winnipeg of old. But man, oh man, not in a million years could I have seen that coming. Backup quarterback, backup anything. I couldn't have seen this coming. This BC team, their defense has stepped up without Rourke, and now Caden Salter put on a show here. And Winnipeg, I kept on saying to you, Jeff, it feels like they're playing at home every week. I don't know what it is. They're going to use up all their home games. I think they're 1-4 of their last 5 home games.
No, I agree. And that BC team, especially last year, had a run early in the year, and they were playing well on both sides of the ball, and then they kind of fell off the map the second half of the year. I said it last week. I'll say it again. I was watching them. The best team, and I don't think it's a debate, both sides of the ball, methodical. They can beat you either which way, and especially in the second half, they lean on you. And next thing you know, the fourth quarter barrage. And I know it wasn't a good opponent. Sign me up right now. And I know it's early. We know that because it could change in September and October. This Montreal team, hands down, the best team in the CFL.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you, Jeff. And I mean, no disrespect to people putting the Elks in their power rankings number, but it just doesn't make any sense. You and I were talking maybe last week together that we could throw Saskatchewan in at number 3. We could throw them number 3. But I saw some people had them at number 4. Like, the way I look at it is it was Montreal, Edmonton, and Saskatchewan top 3, and you pick who number 2 and number 3 are. Because, I mean, from the way I look at it, going into the season, Montreal had to be our number 1. And in order to remove them from number 1, they have to do something that earns them leaving that position, right? Like, what have they done to deserve? Just because the Elks had played good football, it doesn't strip Montreal from their number 1 spot in the power rankings. So, and we got to say, look, hey, you know, the revenge spot worked. We don't always take the revenge spot, but you and I liked last week. Edmonton still looked respectable. Look, they're holding a 6-2 record. But I couldn't agree more with you that Montreal, and like, they're just so fun to watch. They've got so many receivers. What's great about them, Jeff, is that they could go out there and any receiver could have a big game. I mean, obviously Phil Potts their best receiver, but any one of their guys could really have a big one. And, you know, I'm just going to say this. Bobby DeBow and I got this from him. You know, when we talk about the kicking the field goals and you spot the other team on the 40, I've talked to a couple of the guys at 3 down about it. I've gotten more and more passionate about it as like the last 2 or 3 years have gone on. And the thing that I don't like about the kicking the field goal on certain spots, look, sure, if you're on the 40 and it's 3rd and 3 and you want to just establish the game, kick the field goal. But let's look at the Friday and the Saturday early game. If you're Ottawa, do you think you're going to beat Montreal kicking field goals? If you're Hamilton, are you going to beat Calgary kicking field goals? Definitely not, right? So, and even Winnipeg, I kind of give them the pass because BC's offense hasn't been very good. So we can kind of give them the pass. But they started the game themselves. Field goal from the 11, field goal from the 13, I think, here, Jeff. So, you know, and again, you get the option. Hey, do you want to kick or do you want to receive? Do you want to start the next drive on the 40-yard line? Like, if you told Calgary they're starting with the ball on the 40-yard line, I'm pretty sure the average points per drive after a field goal is like 3.3 points or something like that. You're literally gifting the other team a field goal after you kick a field goal. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I wanted to bring that up because you look at Ottawa and you look at Hamilton, and the two teams that actually have done the best job this season so far with it, Saskatchewan and Edmonton. Because, and if we had Bobby on here with us, he'd say he doesn't even like field goals. Either punt it or go for it. Pin the team deep or go for it. But I got to get your thoughts on that. Unique rules, you know, getting the ball on your 40. But I know you've been talking about Calgary's offense, since the, the start of the season, since the crack of dawn here. I mean, if a team's putting up 40 points a game on you, you're probably not going to win kicking field goals anyway, Jeff. But I mean, I'm not in the room coaching, but how are they not seeing this?
Well, the books have had enough. Listen, I don't know how any better I can break down this Calgary team. Again, they can't stop a nosebleed, but they're scoring 35, 37, 40, 50 points at will. I missed the first half, tuning in and forget about it. I mean, and that's not Doug Flutie at the helm here. I mean, this team is I'm trying to think of a good analogy back home. When the Kansas City Chiefs were scoring 35 at will. I'm trying to think in college, the Oregon Ducks. And the books have had enough. Thursday, this is an all-time high. We've been doing shows 5, 6, 7 years, however long it's been. The under-over for Calgary at Toronto on Thursday is 67.5. They're doing everything now to get an under. I talked as much as I could Tuesday and Friday on your channel about, listen, I know we want to be on that right side when Calgary has a hiccup. And it was Hamilton, and we'll get to that Hamilton game this week because it smells again. I think this year, Hamilton is the Elks of old. They're the ones where money's coming in on Edmonton, and they lose 17, 19 in a row. And now the same thing with Hamilton. They just switch seats in the Titanic here. But this Calgary team, just bet their team total over every game until it stops.
Well, it's hard to blame anyone for doing that. If your book offers you team totals, why risk going the other way? That's for sure. And worth noting, Jeff, we did see 69.5, 68.5. So it's tempered down to 67.5, which I always find funny because people will tell us that there's nobody betting the CFL early in the week. But I think that whoever is betting it earlier in the week, they're moving some numbers because 67.5, that's still a freaking high number. We've never seen anything like that. I talked to a few people, never seen a thing like that. And Toronto off the bye week. One thing I'm going to say, and I'm not saying this as in I'm going against Calgary, but I've said this to you before, and I know you're a college football guy, so you've probably heard stuff like this a lot. Chad Kelly isn't liked around the league. Chad Kelly isn't liked with the media. He's done, off-field things. He seems cocky, arrogant, whatever it is, right? If Chad Kelly was playing the way he's playing and he was on, another team or he was, an up-and-comer in the league, he's getting way more respect for the season that he's having right now. Because why would the total be this high if Toronto also isn't having a good season right now, offense-wise? Obviously, I mean, when you got Calgary putting up 40 burgers every week, you get why the total's this high, Jeff. What I'm saying is that, I'm pretty tapped in with all the social media and, the local, the Canadian broadcasts here. Nobody wants to hype this guy up. And, sometimes you feel like you're watching the news because they're going to tell you this quarterback's doing well, but this quarterback, we're going to keep it hush-hush on him. Meanwhile, his passing yard prop every week has been 300 yards himself. And if you look at it, he's having a pretty good year, 324 yards, 375 yards. He's putting up some numbers as well. So, I think if it wasn't for his reputation, maybe he's getting talked about a little bit more as well. Any thoughts on that?
No, and you had texted me and we had talked about it. I get it. I actually liked Chad Kelly when he was playing in college. One of those love him, I hate him guys. He was a lightning rod. He's kind of taken his talents and his ego across the border, as we like to say in the CFL here. But getting back to your Calgary statement, Calgary hasn't needed a lot of help to get the over 60, 63, 65. Now you're talking 69. Yeah, Toronto's going to put up 30 this week. They will, because again, Calgary can't stop a nosebleed. I wouldn't be shocked if Calgary goes and puts up 40. It's just how they're playing right now.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, I know you, and when we're talking about kind of reading the way this unfolds here, and in the past, maybe this would be some situation where I would try and be like, oh, well, this is the under spot. Is this one of those ones where you say, hey, look, because Ian Cameron, shout out to Ian, he was always saying, hey, he loves riding these trends, and he said people are going to have to pay a premium. That's what he said on Twitter. If you want to ride the over streak, of course, Calgary undefeated to the over this season so far. You got to pay a premium for it this week. To your point, is it really a premium if they put up 44 points themselves or 43 points themselves? Maybe it isn't. Is that the only way you'd look? Is the over?
The only way I'd look is Calgary team total over, period. End of discussion. I know this, or let me restate this. I will expect a lot of the so-called sharps and the, Calgary faders will be all over Toronto. They're catching +1.5. I would expect by Thursday money to come in on Toronto. I think this will be closer to a pick'em. Come kickoff time, home field. This Calgary team isn't that good. Their defense sucks. Give me Toronto in the upset here, and I'll stay away with the total here. And at halftime, Calgary's up, 30-13.
Kind of interesting here. Vernon Adams Jr. having such a fantastic year, being the guy that's thrown no picks so far. He's leading the Stampeders to all this success. his passing yard number at FanDuel right now is less than 300 yards, Jeff. And I think a lot of it goes to show with how explosive their run game can be and their special teams. You take a look at this season, 252, 319, 271, 272, 259, 254, 239, and 405. And the completion percentage is, really, really good in all those games, right? What's crazy to me is you look at 50 points, 40 points, 36 points. This team putting up numbers. Does that say anything to you? Because we're looking right now, because when I looked at if I wanted a passing prop, for me, I do think that Toronto's going to be down. But Chad Kelly over 341.5. So we got one guy at 298 and one guy at 341.5. Jeff, this is a pick'em game here. This is depending on which book you were at or which time you went to bet this. You've got a 43-yard discrepancy from one quarterback to the next.
But you see, I think when people see high totals, I think when people see all the points Calgary scoring, the first thing they equate it to is the quarterback and the passing over. That's not how Calgary rolls. Go take a look at their tapes. They're, as you said, Toronto's going to be playing from behind. So what's that mean? We got to speed up the pace. We got to throw the ball. Calgary can get you with the running game or the passing game. And usually in the third or fourth quarter, they have a lead. Teams are going for it on third down. Shorter fields. And so again, I just think the numbers sometimes can lie. In other words, Chad Kelly, listen, you just told me everything I need to know. I take the Chad Kelly over passing in a heartbeat. Again, I'm not running the window to lay the 69, 68, or 67.5. I keep rolling out the Calgary team total till it stops. And eventually it's going to slow down. I don't think Thursday it's going to slow down.
Well, and again, we have no problem talking about bad calls, and it's like, and you hear me do this in the NHL every now and then. It's like I bash all over Trey Ford last season. I semi-bash on him this season, and then I bet on him last week. And I did even sprinkle on his passing yard prop. Had no clue they would even think about replacing him inside the game, but he only completed 40% of his first handful of passes. The reason why I'm bringing that up is that I don't think that's going to happen this week with a guy like Chad Kelly, right? So everything I mentioned in my handicap last week, as far as that's concerned, for the passing prop, look over at Football DB right now. You can rattle off any offensive number you want to give me, Jeff. I'll tell you Calgary's near the top. But you could also ask me any defensive number. I'll tell you Calgary's near the bottom. So it's like it's one of those things where they're good at one thing, but they're not good at the other. They'll give up 30 to your point, but they'll put up 40. So points per game given up right now, we've got 33 points per game. Second only next to Ottawa. Ottawa's at 35 per game. If we look at passing yards per game, Calgary checks in at 312, but passing yards on the entire season, they are dead last at nearly 2,500 passing yards allowed. So the per game stat, they're only third last. If we look at cumulative passing yards, they are dead last. So going to be interesting. And just from what you've seen so far, Jeff, would you say that this season probably home field hasn't meant anything? It feels to me. It feels, and I've enjoyed talking to different people about it when you break things down. But, and again, we're not going to pat ourselves in the back too much for the Rough Riders call. It was, I think a small losing week for me last week. Got to get back going here, but it had that feeling with the Rough Riders and the Elks where we see it in the NHL all the time. Two teams play each other twice in the matter of a week, and both home crowds are disappointed. both crowds that paid to cheer on their team, they leave the arena disappointed, and the road teams come out on top. So I've heard people say, hey, look, you give 3 points for home field. You give 2.5 points for home field. College stadiums are getting so packed now. These guys are used to travel. Give 1.5 for home field. Travel, bye week. What does this tell you? I mean, neutral site, is Calgary getting, laying 2.5 here, or what's the deal here on a neutral site, would you say?
Good question. Being Toronto and the past history, I mean, it would not be a field goal because they get bombarded by Toronto money right there. So I if they're 1.5 at Toronto, again, hoping and begging to get that Toronto money, neutral field, I'd go about 2.5, Andrew.
Yeah. It's always an interesting to talk about, and the thing is, I talked about Winnipeg earlier. Like, everybody had Winnipeg as like the home team, right? That was like the team you don't mess with at home. And something's gone on with this team over the last couple of weeks here. And let's be real, you and I have been doing shows for how many years together? When have they ever had a losing record? Mike O'Shea is like the Mike Tomlin of the CFL. This guy hasn't had a losing record in his life as a CFL coach. He might be approaching that this season. We'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, home field doesn't really mean too much this year, it seems.
The second game, we won't spend much time. I know all the general public, I was going to say the D-gens, will have Saskatchewan moneyline parlays. They'll have teasers. 7.5 right now against Ottawa with a 61.5. Minus 410 on the money line, plus 320. For Ottawa here. For me, simply, again, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I think very simply, I'm just playing the Ottawa team total under, and then I'm just going to move on. I think that the cream of the crop, what you will see in the second half of the year, will be Montreal and Saskatchewan, and then it will be who gets hot at the right time. Do the Elks fade, or is this the Elks team that started the year that keeps moving forward? That I don't expect it. The playbook's out now 3 times this year. Just shut Rankin down, and not only can you win, you put yourself in position to win. But again, this Ottawa team, not good. And I'm expecting Saskatchewan. Hopefully they don't look ahead, but this is a game that they should take care of real early.
I want to say that Ottawa's improving, but their execution has just been so poor. I wish they had you calling plays in the red zone, Jeff, because I don't know what's going on here. This team, this was one of those games, and I'll admit, look, not every game I can watch every single minute of the game. This was one of the ones I had my eye on throughout the entirety, and I had the passing yard prop. But this team found a way to turn the ball over in the red zone. I'm talking maybe 3 or 4 times, Jeff. I swear. And I agree, you're spot on with your team total under. I'm not going to argue on that. But this team, I think they're improving. And are they improving once they get to the red zone within 20 yards or 15? No, probably not. But they are getting better. Like, this Ottawa team is not the Ottawa team we saw a few weeks ago. And Jake Mayer, like, if I told you a quarterback had 311 yards, we had receivers with 77, 69, and 67 yards, and then I told you that quarterback had 0 passing touchdowns, and they finished with 13 points, I mean, you'd ask yourself, well, what was he doing then? Where did all those 311 passing yards go? How do you get that many passing yards and lead to 13 points? That's what kind of becomes puzzling. I do know that one thing you've always said is that, you respect a number if it opened up to 7.5 versus the 6.5 and such. We do know the key football numbers. If you do want Ottawa, it's nice to get that 7 in the hook versus the 7. Again, the road versus home, not really too inclined with the home. I don't usually do this because I actually, quite honestly, mostly would want the the bigger number. But something tells me this could be one of those ones where Ottawa hangs around early. And instead of it being a backdoor cover for the dog, this could be a backdoor favorite cover. Ottawa shows some pride early on, and then the bleeding slowly gets going throughout the game. So we'll see what happens with this one, the way it goes. But I'm wondering if at this point, because you said it yourself, I'm going to use your own words against you. You said it yourself. Montreal is the Mecca right now. Montreal's the top. Montreal can do whatever they want with any team. Those are my words. And they're going to have some fun. So now they're playing the defending Grey Cup champions after they played the number one team in our ratings here. What do we have graded differently between Montreal and Saskatchewan is our question.
I think you're going to see Montreal. I'm not saying it's met their peak. I'm not saying that, because they can blow you out in the first half, or they can wear you down and they can backdoor cover you with a couple late field goals and a turnover, and thanks for playing. Saskatchewan, I think, with that win on Sunday, has now got their sea legs. And they're like, okay, I'm ready. Now, Montreal won, Saskatchewan 2. I don't think that's a debate now. Now let's see in the next 2 to 3, 4 weeks, does Montreal keep ascending, or are they comfortable where they are? Because the team to watch right now is Saskatchewan. And that's why I really think Friday night they got the platform to themselves. I'm going to see, is this an engaged Saskatchewan? All right, guys, couple losses early this year. We're the Grey Cup champs. Montreal's the team to beat. Let's give our fans something to really hoot and howl. Let's give them 30 minutes of hell. Let's get this game wrapped up in the first half so we can have some fun in the second half.
Yeah, what did you see about that? The Ottawa, Saskatchewan. I'm curious where that's going to go. I have seen one book move to an 8 now, which is really interesting. But when you first saw that 3.5 with Montreal, Edmonton, was that kind of what you were expecting with that game?
I think everyone thinks Edmonton's going to slide. Now there's people that are saying which Edmonton's going to show up. In other words, if Montreal can't slow down Rankin, Edmonton's a live dog here. They're a live dog. If Montreal shuts down Rankin, this is a romp. This is double digits. Now do the Elks come up the loss and pull up their pants and say, hey, we're not going anywhere, guys. It's only our second loss of the year, guys. We got the best back, or one of the best backs in the game right now. We lost at home to the Grey Cup champs, and they're only catching 3.5. So buyer beware, because I think it's a great spot for Edmonton versus the methodical Montreal team that just keeps winning. That's all.
Yeah, and look, there's two games this week with like those football numbers, right? The 7.5 and the 3.5. And if there was one dog I'd be more inclined to get behind, it would be Edmonton. And I think, look, they've earned my respect. They've earned my respect. Don't get me wrong. They're 6-2 on the season. But I've talked a lot with my handicapping, and one thing I've looked at with NHL for the next coming season is, I'm a situational guy and I follow the teams, but roles that certain teams are in, like how this team plays. Like do you remember, I know I'm getting off track here, but remember the Maple Leafs used to always lose against like the Coyotes or like crappy team, but then they would beat the good teams, right? And same thing for even my Habs. When my Habs were rebuilding, they would win against the good teams, but lose against like the mediocre. Well, I like Edmonton, in these dog positions. I like them near pick. I don't like them necessarily as much laying points. And that's kind of how I felt pretty much, is that if you went from Saskatchewan laying a couple weeks ago, and then Edmonton, eventually closing line was -2.5, as you talked about for Edmonton. And now you get +3.5 on them. That seems real intriguing to me. This seems like, hey, look, early start, 3 p.m. Eastern. Let's roll the ball out and let's have ourselves a great football game. Let's have ourselves one of the best CFL games of the season that ends in a field goal or who knows what ends up happening. But this, to me, is a game that you want the dog in. When I look at that, it is like this. It's one of those 3.5s. And let's be honest, not every 3.5 you want to be on the dog. Of course, there's last year, Grey Cup, good example. The Grey Cup favorite was 3.5. But this seems like one of those 3.5s that I want to be on the underdog, Jeff. And I was kind of hoping you'd say to me, Andrew, well, Montreal is 3.5 for a reason. And, we'd look at it. But again, if Edmonton can establish the run, because the thing is their defense, I've got the football DB up right now. Points per game. Guess who the number one team is? Points per game allowed. Edmonton. Guess who the worst team is? Points per game allowed. We just talked about it. Ottawa. So Montreal is going from the shittiest defense to the best defense in the entire league in 2 weeks.
I'll just say this. This has got 31-27 written all over it. Over right now, 58.5. 3.5. First one to 31 wins. I'm not trying to steer you in any which direction. But if you like Edmonton, I would jump on them in the first half because they're engaged. Maybe they get ranking off early. Maybe Montreal a little lackadaisical because they're home. We know how Montreal plays. It doesn't matter if they're down double digits. They're going to wear you down in the second half, defensively, offensively. So they're not worried about being down in the first half. So again, I'm an Elks fan. Again, first one to 31 wins this game. 31-27 wouldn't be a shocker for me. Again, if you like Edmonton, I would take Edmonton in the first half here.
I'm seeing Edmonton plus 2.5, minus 106 first half. Alouettes minus 2.5, minus the 120. You can also get first half away total, team total, over 13.5, minus 122.
That's a sucker bet. They want you to bet because if it was 14.5, you'd take the under 13.5. And so 13.5, 2.5. Let's do some quick math here. 16, 13, 29. What'd they give you first half under over? 28 and a hook?
First half under over. I don't know why FanDuel does this, but they give it's 30.5, but it's minus 148. I don't know why they do that, but I've seen that before. So they give you a bigger number and then an exaggerated price on what the under over is.
30.5 minus to the over or under?
No, under minus 150 pretty much. I don't know why they do that, but
let me see if I can pull.
I'll tell you this: the Montreal number for the first half is 16.5 plus 102 to the over.
Yeah. So again,
17-13, 17-14.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But it looks like an under first half. But again, my play is if you like Edmonton, you take Edmonton in the first half. But the telltale sign is 13.5. Edmonton, they're trying to bait you into saying they scored 13 or less. And now how about a 14-13 Montreal first half? How's that sound?
Well, to use the same logic for them baiting us with the 13.5, wouldn't you say they're also doing that a bit with the minus 2.5 on Montreal?
Well,
so it's beneficial for us with that plus 2.5 because everyone's going to say, "Oh, I don't have to lay the 3.5 if I play the first half, right?" And then we'll go. And like you said, if we finish this 14-13, we still cover.
Yeah, but take it another step. Full game's 3.5. First half is 2.5. So technically, they're trying to tell you they expect Montreal to be winning the first half by 3 or better.
In the full game, 3.5. Yeah. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited for this one. Looking forward to this game. And I got to give a shout out to Andrew Cunningham on Twitter. We talked quite a bit. He's just fallen in love with these first quarter bets. And I know some people might say you can't get down on it at this book. But look, we're not all at a sports book in Nevada right now. All right. A lot of us have apps these days. A lot of us have places we can bet. The days are gone where people will say, oh, I can't bet this, I can't bet that. And I'll tell you, at Wager Talk right now, if I can find something on FanDuel, if I can find something on DraftKings, it's going out to clients. I'm getting you the best price and most consensus price I can. But the first quarter bets, they're there. You know, the first quarter team totals are there. The first quarter, 12.5 is the number for the first quarter. Over -114. That stuff's always funny to look at as well.
Last game on the board. Nothing to get excited for. I think just buyer beware. My thoughts on Hamilton. They throw you a low number at 4.5. BC shocks the world. And now everyone's going to run to the window and back BC. And then there's that little, well, maybe this is the week Hamilton gets them. Maybe this is the, I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. Again, I'm just going to stick to 55.5. This could be a shootout at the OK Corral with two bad offenses. But to me, initially, I'm going to just do what I do best. I'll take the Hamilton team total under. And if I had to, I'd also play under 55 and a hook, Andrew.
I'm kind of interested in the under too. Look, I don't think Caden Salter looked as good as people think he did. I think we're going to see an overreaction. I look forward to watching some podcasts, reading some articles. I think people are going to, hey, look, until Rourke's healthy, everything's going to be okay. They found their guy. I can see it now. I can see the headlines now. The guy gets a win over Winnipeg. And this is, not to be Mr. Negative, but we ask ourselves, how good did BC look or how bad did Winnipeg look? Sometimes you have to ask yourself those questions. How bad did Winnipeg look, Jeff? Because they looked pretty bad. They looked bad. It's like a team winning 6-2, and you ask yourself, well, how bad was the defense? How bad was the goaltending in that one? And it's tough because we're getting 5, 4.5, whatever it may be here. The thing is that I said to myself when I saw that number, don't make me back Hamilton again. Please don't make me back Hamilton again. And you know what I said, similar to you, was that, all right, if I'm tempted even in this world to play the dog at this point, just take the under. Just take the under. Because there's not a world we live in where Hamilton's going to put up points if they cover the point spread. Harrison Frost, he did look like he can throw the ball better than Trey Ford. We'll see what that turns into. But that seems to be an underplay for me. And for what it's worth, I got something blocking here. I'm seeing Heritage 56.5, FanDuel 56.5, couple spots with 56, Jeff. But then I'm also seeing now DraftKings has moved to 55.5. So maybe that's one we have to get on sooner than later.
No, I agree. And it's the Sunday special. Is it? No, Saturday night special.
Saturday night doubleheader.
Yeah.
And we got a quadruple header coming up in a couple weeks. We got 4 games in one day coming up here in a few weeks.
Oh, Lindsay's going to love that one.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have to make her some plans that day.
Yeah, exactly. Before we wrap it up, of course, anything going on in hockey, anything you're seeing, anything you're hearing, contracts, of course, it's August 4th. They're going to be in camp before you know it, sir.
Geez, yeah, it's going to come fast. It is going to come fast. Obviously, we've kept on talking about the first game being 29th, only a few preseason games, 84 games this season. It seems like kind of a dry time right now. Not much to report as of right now. The one thing I've heard is that there's these quadrants of trade periods. Feels like the past 2 weeks, next week or two, that dry spell. And what a lot of people forget about is that the next quadrant of trade periods is right before training camp or during training camp. Let's say somebody comes in and they're trying to crack the roster. They impress the scouts, they impress the staff so much that you're willing to trade one of your players that was on the team last year to make room for that guy to make the team. Then you ship him off and you have some trades that get going. So a lot of people, fans, will be disappointed. Oh, we haven't made any trades yet. I know Canadian fans are losing their mind. I'm actually not too upset about it. But whether it be August or whether it be September, there's still time for trades to happen. A lot of these rosters will not look the same in a month from now. And then me and you can go through them all together.
Sounds like a plan. Before I let you go, MLB full slate today. Is there anything that's caught your eye?
Well, you and I both love those plus money, or at least close to even money as we can, especially with the team totals. Hoping to get a better number with the Reds. Their counterpart, the Athletics, they're the plus 105 number. But today, the Reds being minus 115 over on their 4.5 team total. Looking at full season bullpen and last handful of games bullpen, this Athletics team has been spent. They have been brutal. The worst bullpen on the slate. If you get after them early, you're going to be able to get after them late again. Kind of tempted by that one as well. I want to go to Philadelphia if we can. I mean, Luzardo, this guy, I feel like whenever I try and back him or Wheeler, I have to flip a coin because they're going to screw me one way or the other. Kind of tempted by finding a way to back them. I might, and I don't usually do this, Jeff, I might be looking at the team total under for the Washington Nationals today. Could be something for me to keep my eye on, or even the first 5 innings under. As far as anything else is concerned, looking at that Dodgers game, everyone's going to be all over that one. What would you say if I told you I'm interested in the over in that game? I'm interested in backing offenses in that game right now. And maybe, just maybe, the comment where we had a guy pretty much just say, hey, look, I'm going to come in and just be a fly on the wall, be a chameleon here. I'm not, you've got a guy coming in, Skubal, who has been great for the Tigers, but he's just, I don't want to say average on this Dodgers team, but look at their rotation, and I look at this Cubs team, the way that their offense is playing right now, I could see some runs taking part. I might fade Skubal in some way, shape, or form today.
Well, I'd say good luck to you. The Dodgers have lost 4 in a row. I insert American League 2-time Cy Young champ to stop the bleeding. And you like offenses, I'll give you the carrot. You can take the Cubs team total over 3.5, get it at plus 105. Where I'm going, here's a freebie to the standing room only on Twitter. Dodgers team total over 5.5 plus 100. That's where I'm going.
Let's get some runs. Over 9, over 9.5, over 10, whatever. Let's get some runs in this one here. You Savage on the mound for the Blue Jays, plus a short underdogs again. I felt your pain yesterday, Jeff, because it reminded me of my Nationals and Jays game where I had the over in that one. Is this, look, you Savage has been pretty good, but is this one of those games where you see some runs the day after? They almost come the delayed reaction where they come a little bit after, or are the Jays going to have to continue to rely on pitching to win games?
I think that's it. I mean, no one was harder on the offensive side than the Astros, and it wasn't that they didn't put guys on base first and second and third. They just didn't get that clutch hit. A team that was 9-1 their last 10 before last night. Insert your Savage. So again, it's an 8.5. Maybe you get the flip here. Astros win 3-1 there. I'm kind of backing off a little of that one, and you want a little stench of the day here. Let's go where I am right now at Fenway Park. Sandoval versus Martin. A 9 under. Red Sox only opened up minus 123 at the Circa right now, minus 129. Good morning, good afternoon, good night to Mr. Benson and Mr. Stevens, and now new Jeff Sherman now with the Circa, so good morning to him as well. But the Red Sox, who are hotter than just come off a sweep of the Dodgers, only minus 128 against the White Sox, Andrew.
That stuff can make you scratch your head think twice before you get to the window, and that's why that sometimes the odds matter. Reading the market matters. I got one last one to throw at you. The Guardians -0.5 first 5 innings. I wasn't a bullpen guy for many weeks in this season, many months in the MLB season. Mostly was a team total guy. Would look at a bullpen if it was going against the team, if they were fatigued, tired. This is a spot that works out well. The pitching matchup in general, but also, according to my numbers, Cleveland's pen actually hasn't been that great. So you want to just isolate them in the first 5 here. And right now, Mets, 42 WRC plus, worst in the league last 6 game sample size. -110. We're not getting plus money, but -110 first 5 innings, Cleveland. Not sure if I lost Jeff there or not.